we were more together as a people, I think, and that's just across the board, not just, isolated by race, I think we wouldn't have as much people who are, whether it's impoverished, whether it's, just angry kind of situation. We would eliminate a shit ton of problems, but we're so isolated now. It's bizarre. Now, granted, some people blame like capitalism because it's a battle towards the top. But I think if you play the capitalism game the right way, then you kind of eliminate the vast majority of the problems that it appears to bring on the surface.
That's a natural thing, though, because people say, "Oh, capitalism." The entire planet has capitalism.
It is,
doesn't matter where you look.
Right.
You could look in fucking in Africa, right? The entire continent of Africa. There's people at the top, there's people at the bottom. Mm-hmm. The rulers, the politicians, the overlords. They have all the fucking money and everyone else living in poverty. Right. You look anywhere across the world.
There's always going to be those who have resources and those who don't.
There's a level of the people that are winning, that are working hard, that are ascending to the top, and the people at the bottom that are struggling because of it. Yeah. One big thing I think in order to fix the problem, and again, the human nature is everyone's going to look out for themselves. And because of that, you can't really fight human nature. The one big thing I think you do to fix the problem is you almost have to raise the floor. So if you raise the floor enough to the point, if you look at it,
there's a standard.
The floor in a third world country, like I don't know if these are third world countries, but in let's say a country in Africa or Brazil or the Philippines, the floor is a lot lower. People are just fucking homeless.
Right.
The floor here in the United States is the homeless people here get fucking $500 a month from the government. That's people's salary, working people's salary in other countries.
Elsewhere,
You just raise the floor high enough to the point that okay. Because here's what I think. I think in the direction we go, the only way to fix it, if you have a big enough divide, country goes to shit. Because now it's the top 10% and then the bottom people. Right. At the bottom, it's a big fucking war. Where now we almost have where the middle class is damn near upper lower class. Exactly. Right. So that doesn't work because eventually there's a revolution. You overthrow the oppressors. The only way to do it is you get people that get really fucking rich. Yep. And then at that point, you just pay a stipend to the people at the bottom so they're not all the way at the bottom. But then you would still, because universal basic income, right?
Right.
That's it's a weird one because I was very anti that because I was like, fuck that, then no one's gonna work. Who cares if no one works as long as the productive people work? Right. Because here's the thing, they're not gonna work anyway. Fucking just let them have their house, let them have their food, make sure they're not homeless, and let the big boys go. But play. Then it benefits the productive individual. There would be a bit of benefits to where they would get that. But then those who are, whether it be entitled or just unwilling, the lazy would get a benefit off, because I think naturally there's going to be a bit of frustration, and that's why I think with socialism will never work, is because those who actually put in the work, you grind. If I was doing way more than you do, and let's just say if I'm doing either the bare minimum or not even the bare minimum, but we both get the same result, naturally there'd be an anger that's there. Yeah. Because it's only a matter of time before because you're gonna look over like, wait a minute, this ain't right. No, right, so then they'd be exactly. I could just do. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of like they would have to find a way to get that money. Yeah. Because otherwise they'd be like, oh, I'm making 1,000. Because during the pandemic. Yeah. There was a point where there was so many stimulus. Yeah. PPP loans. PPP loans. There was a way that you could not work and make more money. Yeah. Unemployment. Yeah. You could not work and make more money than you would if you were at a job. Exactly. Yeah. And that's a delicate balance, right? So I think in order to do that, it almost has to be a big enough gap to the point where it's okay, if people are making, it would have to be to a point where jobs under 10 grand a month would be useless. And your stipend is let's say you get $1,500 a month from the government. That's universal basic income. But any job under $10,000 a month is obsolete, and getting there is tricky. But let's say AI could do it. So we no longer need, I don't know, people like servers or busboys or cashiers, because AI does all of it. Or
influencers at that point.
Influencers are never going to go away, bro.
We'll go there next, but just to close on
influencers are never going to go away, bro.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't think they will either. But just to close on the situation with the capitalism and then with the money, I think there's always going to be a situation where people lose, and naturally, morally, just to tie in even with how the global moral level is different country by country, continent to continent. I think there's a level of uncomfortability with the fact that people are going to lose, and losing is something that is so catastrophic because it's famine, it's death.
Yeah.
It's a ton of different things, and you almost have to be comfortable with the fact of, those people losing.
If you make the losing like, oh, you're losing is you don't have a nice place. You're losing is you get a house and you get food. If that's losing, I think it'll soften the blow a little bit.
Right. But then unfortunately, it's just not realistic to where it's...
Here's kind of a reason why I say that, because the difference in between the people that are broke and the people that are rich is so fucking huge. You're never going to catch up. It's exponential. It's years of education stacked on top of years of capital, stacked on top of years of everything. So in order for these people that are all the way at the bottom to catch up, they have to so imagine you're running a race, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. You're
running a marathon.
Yeah.
But how far is a marathon?
Marathon, 26.2 miles.
26.2 miles. So someone starts at the 20-mile marker, and you're starting at the beginning. You have a 20-mile gap to catch up.
Yeah.
99.9% of people are not going to finish the marathon like that.
Right, and let alone you have the willingness to run the race, the capability to finish the race, and then the the mindset to even want to keep going. Like, it's one thing to be capable of finishing, it's another thing to even want to finish, because it's almost like it's similar with the marathon. If you was to make it a bit more simplistic per se, let's just say it's a 100-meter race for somebody, and then it's a 1,600-meter, steeplechase for somebody else. Yeah. But then there are those who look at it like, all right, I'll conquer this challenge and have the resolve to make it to the end. And there's others like, well, this is unfair, despite the fact that two people can be dealt the same hand. One person will overcome, the other person will succumb to, the situation. So it's one of those situations where truly I don't think it's something that can be fixed without somebody having to take the L.
Here's one piece, because I was going to say this last podcast, but I didn't talk about it. But like how these buildings work, we were talking about buying buildings, right? Mm-hmm. A person doesn't even, I'm convinced there's people that are living in poverty that don't even know how this works. Right. They assume that these just go up. They don't think about how does this go up, who pays for it, what's the process of it going up. They're not curious enough to even do the research. Because there's different ways buildings go up. All these buildings, some of these are corporate, some of these get rented out, some of these are owned by big corporations that rent them out. Stuff like this, did you know that this is actually like a money grab made by developers? These are all condominiums. Right. So these are not apartments, these are condominiums. A developer buys the land, they pay to build it. So let's say it's a $100 million investment in total to set this up. Then they sell each individual unit individually. So now you have you build it, you drop 150 million to build it, you sell it for 300 million right away. Right. So that's how that would work. There's other ones where they put 100 million and they get rental income from it. So with these, they're almost just like a big money grab. Hey, I build it, it's in a prime location, people are gonna buy them, they buy them, my wife is walking through the back. Yep. But yeah, they build it, they sell it, it takes, in 2 years, they clear $100 million profit. Right. And because of that gap, people don't think about that. They don't realize how that works. They don't realize what goes into setting that up. The skill gap is just crazy, bro. Right. It's very interesting because a lot of times people don't recognize, not only how things work, but then also with something like this, it's attainable on a smaller level as you build. But then if you want to go more macro, this is something that you would go and grab, because even you can, have partners or something. You can join into deals like that. I at first, I didn't know, with investing into a project for a building, that you can just take a small percentage and invest in. I had no clue of that. I thought you had to be there from the beginning, or you had to be a more majority kind of investor. So I thought there was a limit to whatever the case is, but I never really went out of my way to go do the research. It was just on. I just assumed. So that's where my ignorance was. The skill gap.